Hey everybody, hope you are having a great week this week. Today I'm going to tell you what you should do with your money if these events happen, because I've got always feedback from clients and prospective clients. Well, whatever, the president's doing this and inflation's going through the roof and there's going to be a war and so and so and so. And let's talk about, well, what you should do with your money if these things happen. So let's assume inflation. Well, the one place to put your money that's going to protect it from inflation is tips. These are inflation-protected securities. They're going to rise with inflation. And really the break-even point, so you win if you bet on tips if inflation is more than 1.7%. But would it be prudent to put all of your money into tips right now? You wouldn't do that, of course not. And actually, this is the one asset class really been down over the last several years, and people have really gotten hurt because people continue to anticipate inflation. It hasn't arrived. But nobody's going to, if you're scared about it, put all your money into tips today. But maybe it makes sense to have some. Well, what about war in the Middle East? Well, if there is a war in the Middle East, I can't necessarily say what that's going to do to the equity markets, but maybe, oil would be a good place. It could drive up the price of oil stocks or ancillary plays on crude oil. Or maybe if it just, it could be catastrophic and maybe you move all your money to cash. Well, does it make sense to put all your money in cash in anticipation of a war that may or may not ever occur and there's constant turmoil? Or are you going to buy 100% oil stocks right now? Well, of course that doesn't really make sense either. Well, what about real estate? What about real estate continues to rise, let's say, and it's a good, positive economic environment? Well, how do you participate in that? Do you buy a bunch of private REITs and tie your money up? We saw what happened there in 2008 as people lost basically everything. Or do you buy a bunch of rental property, or do you start trying to flip houses? Well, if that's not your business and you don't know, that's not necessarily prudent. And then if real estate crashes, well, what do? Well, you got to pull your money out. Probably, I guess, cash is the next safest place, or maybe bonds. But of course, you're not going to put all your money necessarily in those asset classes either. Euro falls apart. Same thing. China, recession, Russia, war, Ukraine. There's always an answer to this. Well, maybe you play a short bet on the Russian market, or maybe you bet against the euro and you can go short the euro with ETFs. Now, you would never take enough of your money that it's going to make a big enough difference. But is it prudent to have some tips in your portfolio? Well, maybe you have some oil stocks. You also have some cash, of course, you keep in the bank. You have some fixed income. You have some real estate. Because if these events do occur, the question isn't, well, where should I put all my money in case it happens? The question should be, if this happens, am I still going to be okay? And that's just the prudent decision to make. So, of course, our clients have exposure to tips. They have exposure to oil stocks, of course, cash, fixed income. They're not necessarily short the euro. That's a little bit too aggressive of a play. But they have smaller exposure to European markets. Russian and war in the Ukraine, I don't necessarily know what exactly to play if that happens. But, moving all their money into the bank maybe, because it could cause a world calamity. But that being said, you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst, and that's how it's prudent, or what makes sense to have your money diversified, protected, going to take some advantage if some things happen, disadvantage if other things happen. Have your money spread out, thinking about the long-term goals that you have for you and your family. If you have questions, call our office, 770-984-2312. Go to our website too, bearwealth.com.